Right when I had graduated college, I went on a trip to Israel, and I'll never forget my professor. We were in ancient Chorazin, where Jesus had done many miracles, sitting there in the ruins, and he was teaching about how Jesus made disciples and how it was on the go as you go. And, they slept together, they ate together, they just shared life. And it moved me so much. After the lecture was done, I came up to my professor, I was like, I love it. How do we do that in America today? And he looked at me and he said, I have no idea. My passion has been to figure out how to do Jesus-like discipleship in America. And I've never seen anything that even came close until I came down and I spent time with the 33rd Company interns. And I saw that they were all holding their jobs. It was part-time, but they were on mission together. They were family together. They were sharing their lives together. They were, a lot of them, pretty new believers. And like growing leaps and bounds because they were doing it on mission the way that Jesus did. And it just dawned on me, like, these people are looking like the disciples of Jesus, world changers, just ordinary, normal, everyday people. But they're following Chris as he follows Christ, learning to be like him and accomplishing extraordinary things.
Jesus said, go and make disciples. And I believe that original call that Jesus spoke, it never changed. I think that we've shifted, our focus has got pulled off. And I believe that at the core, 33rd Company is calling the church, it's calling the nations back to a place of simplicity.
33rd is really all about your yes, and that's really where it started from. It's my obedience is what matters. And so 33rd began in that state, and that's really what it still is today, is taking people and reminding them who they were created to be, reminding them that they're not immaterial, they're not unqualified, they're not insignificant, and then helping them to say yes whenever Jesus asks them to do something.
So what I love about 33rd Company, there's a bunch of different facets in which 33rd Company operates. Our heart is to lovingly come beside the church body and say, hey, like, going out and sharing the gospel is not as intimidating as it seems. So 33rd Company, we equip the everyday church believer.
When I was growing up, I was relying on my parents' faith, as lots of people do, but I would have said I had a relationship with the Lord, but I think the gospel that I responded to countless times was more of a self-centered prayer to get a benefit from the Lord rather than giving my life to the Lord.
To me, I'm just his, and everything I do, I want to be for him, because of him.
3 years ago, this older man I was going to school with, and he said, Lauren, you have to be married to Jesus before you can be married to a man. Like, that's what comes first. And I was reading the Song of Songs, but there's one part where it's like the bride is talking to the groom, and she's saying, like, despite all my fears, like, I'll go to the mountaintop of suffering. And God spoke to me when I was reading that, and he said, those are your wedding vows. And I just got down on my knees and said that to God, and he's been that to me ever since.
What is most important to the Lord, and really what will produce the effective long-term fruit in the external is that internal motive of love.
We love God, okay? There's people out there who don't love God, so we go out to share the gospel.
This is the actual mechanism to transform lives and then save cities and then eventually nations. This is the way you actually go about it.
The way I see belong is that one individual that shows up, that's seeking, that one individual that raises their hand and gives their life to the Lord, that one individual that gets baptized, how that one individual becomes like leaven for the kingdom of God to work through their entire family.
We want people to actually walk with the Lord, and to do that, sometimes it takes a little bit of training and upbringing to get people from the place where they believe in God to the place where they actually follow God.
You see families that aren't just giving their lives to the Lord out on the streets, but they give their life to the Lord, then they come to be discipled together. So when you couple prayer with outreach, and outreach with giving them a place to come to learn and to grow and to be discipled, to me that is the big picture.
You see so many people just come in and get saved, and then they think, I just go to church, I'm a good person, or I'm just, they're missing out. They're missing out. When you disciple somebody, you walk them through and you explain to them the grace, the love, just everything that God has to offer for them, their purpose. When they find out what their purpose is, and then you watch them walk that out, it's amazing. It's so fulfilling. Just to see someone on fire for Jesus and to go. Like someday you discipled them and now they're walking, they're discipling. I mean, that's what the whole point was. To make disciples, to make disciples, to make disciples.
I've been seeing my own, it's really shown me my own need for myself to grow as a disciple of the Lord personally, as I'm doing the work of discipleship towards others.
Jesus' call is to go to the nations. So it starts at home. It starts with our mission being where our feet are today. But I believe that when we steward what God has given us, He then begins to increase our influence.
And 33rd is way more than just a church-focused organization. Today, that's its primary focus, is equipping the church. But it's really about taking the gospel to the most unreached people, wherever they may be. They may be in the arts, they may be in a geographical location like Iraq or Pakistan. They may be in your family. But every single one of us has said no for far too long. We're really good at saying no. Very few of us are good at saying yes.
So it's because we've stewarded what God has given us here, and we're going to continue to steward that, then God begins to open up the nations. And He says, ask of me, and I'll give you the nations. We try everywhere we go to live on mission and to see God move. We live with expectancy everywhere we go. But when we travel overseas and we're in places like mosques or in Japanese Yakuza, clubs in Tokyo or underground churches in China, there is a power of God that is tangible and real when you're in a place that is a little bit more dangerous.
In the moment, your yes is insignificant. It really is. Saying yes to pray for the person in the grocery store, or saying yes to give a sum of money, or to say yes to move. You just have to say yes, and then the compounding effect of a life of yeses equals a ministry where you're impacting nations and churches. All of us are just basic and ordinary, but we're just really good at saying yes.